to Be Sharp Teachers TV. I am your hostess, Wynn, and you have made it to the place where teachers come when they want to learn about teaching with authenticity, joy, and loads of success for themselves and their students. And I'm very glad that you have found us here. Every Sunday we put out a new edition of Be Sharp Teachers TV, and if you are interested in getting a notification in your email so that you don't miss a single zap of Wynn, you just need to hop on over to besharp.us and sign up to join our International Academy of Be Sharp Teachers. It is totally free, and this is an email notice each week in your mailbox is one of the benefits of membership. It's probably the lowest level of benefit of membership because there is a ton of great stuff for you over there. So hop over to besharp.us and get signed up for your weekly zap of Wynn. Okay? Now on to today's episode that you have all been waiting for. I'm coming to you today. I want to share with you a little bit of research that I read actually in December 2012 edition of Entrepreneur magazine. But when I read it, I was thinking, oh, you are speaking here in the article to teachers as well. The article was on multitasking and how our brain is actually not wired for multitasking. And I know that entrepreneurs are huge multitaskers. They like to think of themselves as the macho multitasking group, right? But I know teachers even better. And I know that you guys are master multitaskers. You're listening to 5 kids at one time and taking roll and, tying shoes, okay? So I know that you do it because I did it as well. But I want to encourage you today to slow it down, to stop doing that multitasking, because truly when you are in the throes of multitasking, when you're in there really getting it, a lot of times that's when your authenticity most suffers because you're on robot mode. You're just doing things, kind of acting out of reflex and out of a reactivity place. You're reacting instead of creating, that we've talked about so often before. The other thing is that when you're multitasking, you are actually in a place where you could possibly lose some of your joy because you are in that place of reaction instead of creating, okay? And the other thing that happens is if you are multitasking and you mess up because your brain is not wired to do that, then you lose joy because you have to go back and you have to spend extra time to undo the mistakes that you made while you were doing your multitasking, okay? And also, this is going to affect you in the success in your classroom. So we've already hit authenticity and joy, but listen to the success piece of this. We are moving into an era where we are wanting for our students to show their ability to think and to problem solve, right? And to be able to write about what they have done in solving problems that have required deeper amounts of thought processing. And what I'm going to tell you is that if you are constantly modeling a shallow thought process of just getting things done on the surface, you are not modeling for them the kind of thought process it is going to take for them to be successful in this new era of Common Core. Okay? So I'm going to want you to slow it down and to start modeling for them really focusing attention in and deeper thinking. Okay? And I'm going to give you a little bit of information from a fellow named David Meyer. This is the article that I was reading. David is, and I want to get this right for you, he's a cognitive scientist at the University of Michigan. He serves as the director of the Brain, Cognition, and Action Laboratory and is one of the country's leading experts on multitasking. So I figured, okay, if he's in there studying brains and cognitions and action all the time, he must have a clue. And that's why I chose to share his work with you today. So here's what he's telling us in this article. It is that your brain has different areas in it that control different types of functions that you do. One of the areas I'm going to take as an example is the area of language processing and language, dealing with all things language. So here's what happens. If you are, say, on the phone, let's say you're on the phone after school with a parent, and you're also trying to send another parent an email, both talking and reading and writing all come from the language center of your brain. And so when you're trying to get your brain to be doing 2 different activities, but they both come from the same area, instead of it being a meshing of what's going on in there, your brain actually flits back and forth in an instant, back and forth to each other. Writing, reading, listening, talking. It's going crazy. You're not actually doing all of it at the same time is what Mr. Meyer's research is showing to us. So in essence, you are causing this high level of electricity and these back and forth, which sets you up to make mistakes, to not be able to think clearly about either one of those processes. So the encouragement here is to realize the way that your brain functions, and instead, when you're on the phone, I want you to be 100% totally on the phone and committed to that conversation so that the language portion of your brain can work for that conversation so that you can hear, take it in, and this is part of being authentic and joyful. Maybe the topic of the conversation is not all that joyful for you, but you will have joy at the end of it because you will have really heard and understood what the parent is saying, and you will have been able to give your best comment back to it, your best reaction to that, the best of who you are and what you know you can share with that parent. When then you hang up from that, then write your email, okay? And be totally focused 100% on that. This is authenticity, folks. Being 100% in where you are, into the conversation, into the email, into the student who you're talking to. If Johnny's trying to tell you one thing and you're trying to take roll over here, you're listening and reacting to Johnny. That's language. But over here, you're reading and you're also scanning. You're reading the room to see which children are there, and you're reading their names, and then you're marking on them. This is two things using the language area of your brain again, neither one of which you're doing correctly or to your fullest, let me put it that way. And it opens you up for more mistakes. So either you're going to tell Johnny, yes, it's okay, go ahead and do what he just asked to do, which was get out glitter and glue, and Lord knows you don't want that going on. Or you're going to send the attendants to the attendance office, and then she's going to come after you for doing that wrong. Not every time, but you open yourself up to these kinds of situations when you are multitasking and trying to use your brain in a way that is not wired to do. So I'm going to suggest this to you now also. In this period in which we are teaching right now, we're asking children to think deeply, to problem solve on new levels, and then to be able to share with us about their thinking. We're really asking them to be quite metacognitive. They are not going to be able to do this if they are not allowed the time to think. If they are not allowed the time to work, stop, think, process, and come back to it. Particularly if they are trying to use the same area of their brain in, listening to their partners and internalizing what they're reading and trying to then create an argument on their own. Okay, I'm thinking about those math practices right now about, listening to the arguments of others, critiquing them, constructing your own. These are really heavy thought processes that are going on there. We've got to allow children time to do these, but we also have to provide for them the model of what they look like. And you know as well as I do, probably even better than I do, that kids are going to do a lot more of what they see in who you are and how you interact with them and how you are processing than they will in how you tell them about how to process. Okay? You know these things as well as I do. They do so much more about what we do and how we live it. That's why it's important we bring our authentic self into that classroom every day. Okay? I want to end with you today on this Zap of Wynn here at Be Sharp Teachers TV with a quote from the article again. And this is David Meyer. He's speaking here again. And it says this. And he's going to talk about the entrepreneur because this is from Entrepreneur Magazine. But remember, I told you, I think teachers could give an entrepreneur a run for their money any day of the week on multitasking. So when I say entrepreneur, we're going to just substitute in there teacher. So he says, if you want to be a creative entrepreneur, teacher, you ought to be setting aside large chunks of time where you just think. Einstein was not multitasking when he was dreaming up the special and general theories of relativity. And that's where his quote ends. So I'll leave you with that today to be thinking about. Oh, good. Here we go. I want you to be thinking about. Think through, what does spending time to think look like for you? What does spending time to think look like for the children in your classroom? How are we going to impact their success by understanding that multitasking is not productive? Your brain is not wired to do that. Now, one last thing before we actually go for this afternoon, and it is this. If you have been trying to listen to me here on Be Sharp Teachers TV, and you've been playing on Facebook, or you've been pinning on Pinterest at the same time, or your TV in your house is on, I want you to stop what you're doing. I want you to come back to this video, turn everything else off, Concentrate and listen for a few minutes, because the multitasking you were just doing is going to leave you wondering, what was all that going on around you? And if you're in the place where you're thinking, what did she just say? What did I just pin? What was happening on TV? How about on Facebook? What are my friends doing today? Okay, if you are not sure about one of those things, those other activities that's been going on with you right now, stop this video, finish those off one at a time, come back and watch this again, okay? Or better yet, watch this first and then go finish all your other activities so that you will understand why multitasking is not working for us. Okay, listen, have a great week this week. Meet us over at bsharp.us to join us in the International Academy of B-Sharp Teachers so that you can get weekly reminders of this Zap of Wynn into your email box every Sunday. And I will see you next week right here on the